Wow. Welcome to Good Morning Africa. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. Thank you very kindly for tuning in and thank you for choosing Pan African Television. Today is the 27th of August 2020. I'm super excited to come your way with today's edition. We're going to be interrogating and discussing a lot of issues here. First on the list is an African story. Cote d'Ivoire's ex-president Gbagbo barred from election. And Daily Graphic, as always, reported that particular story on page 5 of that newspaper. And on the front page of Daily Guide newspaper says, soldiers take over town. Soldiers take over town. USPR firm on work during Akufo-Addo campaign and now. The Daily Dispatch also reported this particular story on its front page. But the story itself is on page 11 of this particular newspaper. Also, Rawlings replies ahoy at last. Rawlings replies ahoy at last. The New Crusading Guide reported this one. Agyapa sends bad signals to investors. Says Tepe. Okay, so these are the topics that we've tabled for our conversation today. It's going to be a very wonderful show today. I can assure you of that. Join in the conversation. You know, it's very interactive via our WhatsApp number, which is 026084 6539 026084 6539. You can as well watch us on Facebook and share the live feed so your friends, your colleagues, your comrades can equally get the opportunity to watch today's conversation. Facebook page is Pan African Television. I'm also on Facebook as well, Kwame Owusu Danso, so you can share with me your thoughts. Sir.
Thank you so very much. Let me do what is customary of me every Thursday to extend my sincere regards to you, my brother Kwame Pratt, and your numerous viewers. Now, Ivory Coast is boiling, it's beginning to boil. The temperature is rising for many reasons, but for the wrong reasons. The first major indication of something fundamentally wrong with the electoral system of Ivory Coast and the political system was when Alassane Ouattara announced that he was not going to go a third term. He had nominated a successor, and somehow along the line, the successor was seized by a heart attack and died. Now, when the successor died, we had information filtering in from Ivory Coast that the Alassane Ouattara had not prepared another successor. It was very difficult to get somebody to succeed him in office. So the options were very wide open. I mean, and he did not want to try his bets on a wild card. And that made him throw in his bid to become the Ivorian president for the third time. Now, along the line, Guillaume Soro was also interested, who was his number 2 man, virtually the prime minister of Ivory Coast, but who fell out with Alassane Ouattara. He indicated that he wanted to contest the elections. Indeed, he had announced his candidature while outside the country and indicated that he was flying back to Ivory Coast to take part in the political process. He was detained briefly in Ghana because of the information that he was not wanted in Ivory Coast and prevented from entering Ivory Coast. Now, his supporters in Ivory Coast did not take kindly to the machinations of Alassane Ouattara and the ruling party. Then Laurent Gbagbo, who was acquitted by the International Tribunal and who was forced out of government after the elections, indicated that he was coming to contest because he had been cleared. He had been cleared of all wrongdoing. He had not been fixed with any responsibility for the civil war and the massacre that occurred. If, for lack of better word, his only reason why he was sent to the tribunal was his obstinacy. I mean, he had said that he had won the elections. He would not relinquish power. He would not give up power because the people had reposed confidence in him and that he was a legitimate leader of Ivory Coast. And the Guillaume Soro and his band of rebels decided to attack him. and attack Ivory Coast, attack all the institutions of state, and forced and captured him with the aid of the French and sent him to the Ivory Coast. Now I think that basic international law and international conventions, rules of civility, and rules of behavior by civilized nations is that when a person is acquitted of such serious offenses, he has a clean slate and must be given the opportunity to run. Especially when a country says it is practicing democracy, and he's just going to test his popularity in the country and see whether the people will repose confidence in him once again to lead Ivory Coast. Now the Ivorians have come up with a disqualification list. They've removed 3 people from the list of candidates who can contest the elections, including Laurent Gbagbo and Guillaume Soro. We know why they removed Guillaume Soro. He was virtually prime minister. He fell out with Alassane Ouattara. He is said to have also run away with money, emptied the coffers, embezzled resources, and went into exile. Laurent Gbagbo is accused of having emptied the coffers of state while he was president. Now, I don't know what that means, because he was tried in absentia and convicted, sentenced, and that was in addition to his appearance before the International Criminal Tribunal. Now, I can smell a rat in the Ivorian matter. Apparently, what the Ivorian authorities seem to be doing is to clearing the way for Alassane Ouattara to have his third bid at the presidency and probably win the elections in Ivory Coast. And so, declaring all obstacles that must stand in the way of Alassane Ouattara. But they better watch it. They better watch it. Alassane Ouattara himself is a subject of controversy. And you know, the first time he attempted to run for elections, he was said to be of Burkinabe parentage, and not a native Ivorian. And he was disqualified from running as prime minister. That sparked the civil war in Ivory Coast. So he should not be the person to disqualify others from contesting elections on the basis of trumped-up charges against them. He should not. I mean, he should know what restricting the political space to only a determined number of participants, largely from your favorites, can spark war. I mean, he knows that, and so should not be encouraging that. I think that what Alassane Ouattara, I mean, for an international diplomat, a head of state like Alassane Ouattara, what he ought to have done, my candid opinion, was to allow the elections to go. Even if his party gave him the nod to contest a third term, and he decided to accept the invitation to contest a third term, what he ought to have done was to allow the processes to go. Open up the democratic space. Open up the political space. Allow people who were your allies, who were your rivals or opponents, to contest. Now, that will be a sure bet of testing your popularity.
Right.
Because you need legitimacy for your third term. Having announced that you were not going to run and having changed or haven't had a change of mind consequent upon the death of the person you nominated to run, you need legitimacy even if you win the elections. And what better way to get legitimacy if you allow everybody to contest than you win a free, fair, and transparent elections.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt.
Well, you know, what is happening in La Côte d'Ivoire is absolutely crazy. I'm looking at what is happening in Mali, and I see all these West African leaders rushing to Mali to try and resolve the conflict, and they are threatening sanctions and so on. When it started, what did they do? When it started, it was okay. When the Malian administration was suppressing the people of Mali, violating the constitution, breaking all the norms and so on, West African leaders were not concerned. They waited until things got out of hand and the military stepped in to ensure a certain level of stability. Now they are running haywire. And can you believe that their first request to the new leadership in Mali was for them to reinstate this discredited president who himself says that he's not interested in governing anymore? I mean, incredible. West African leaders, this is what they are. The Malian leader himself says that he's not even interested in going forward. And they say that, no, you should reinstate him. Every West African leader knows that this leader has lost total credibility. There's lost respect among the Malian people. The coup is the most popular thing that ever happened in Mali after Modibo Keita. And yet West African leaders are going there, you know, pretending to be Democrats and so on. They are going to lose massive credibility. ECOWAS will lose massive credibility in Mali if it pursues this agenda. Now, the same thing is happening in La Côte d'Ivoire. We are all watching Ouattara completely misbehaving. The constitution does not allow a third term. He's going to amend the constitution to get a third term. He's banning every credible opponent from contesting the elections and instituting a reign of terror in La Côte d'Ivoire. And everybody is watching him. When things get out of hand and the people of La Côte d'Ivoire take matters into their own hands, you see all this rushing into La Côte d'Ivoire to go and make all kinds of demands which don't make sense at all. La Côte d'Ivoire is boiling. It will be exploding very soon. Everybody can see it happening. Why? Giron Soro, who was the main architect of the rebellion that brought Ouattara to power, has been completely eliminated. Now Giron Soro is living in exile, I think, in Spain, you know, on Trump-out charges. Laurent Gbagbo has also been banned from contesting the elections on very flimsy excuses. In any case, Laurent Gbagbo should not have been out of power. There have been elections in La Côte d'Ivoire. There were disputes over the election results. Laurent Gbagbo's only demand was for the recounting of the ballots. Recount, let's recount, which happens everywhere, in every country. Recount. Ouattara says, no, we will not recount, we will fight. And then he brings in the guns, assisted by French troops and so on. They overthrow the Laurent Gbagbo government, subject the wife to things that I cannot say on air, and so on. Then they grab him and send him to the International Criminal Court on charges of crimes against humanity. The court frees him, and yet they say he cannot return to La Côte d'Ivoire. What is this nonsense? He has been freed by the court. There is no evidence to warrant his conviction, and say he can't return to La Côte d'Ivoire. Now they come up with Trump-up allegations that he abused public funds. How? This was one of the most transparent administrations in Africa's history. They said they banned him. He can't take part in elections because Alassane Ouattara wants to remain president by any means and by every means. I think Alassane Ouattara is playing with fire, and somebody ought to be speaking to Alassane Ouattara. You know, one of the most interesting things, I hope we have not forgotten. You remember in the campaign for the 2016 elections, Alassane Ouattara was the model of the New Patriotic Party. They kept telling us to see what Alassane Ouattara is doing. I hope they will have the courage today to still come and tell us that we should be copying Alassane Ouattara. 2016, our ears were breaking with calls on Ghana to emulate Alassane Ouattara. That is Alassane Ouattara for you. I mean, incredible, incredible. How old is he? I think he's over 80 years old, in bad health, and he doesn't want to leave office. He wants to die on the presidential seat. That's what he wants to do. And he doesn't care whether Ivory Coast goes to places or not. He doesn't give a damn. He just wants to be president. These type of leaders are Africa's problem. And he's supported by the West. He's supported by France. He's keenly supported by Israel and keenly supported by Morocco. My goodness.
Right. Well, thank you, Mr. Pratt. If you just joined in, you're watching the news preview segment on Pan-African Television. And let me remind you once more that the Facebook Live is active. And the WhatsApp number is also very much active. It's 0260846539. 0260846539. We're coming back home to discuss some domestic topics. And I just want us to dispatch this one quickly, and then we can look at two main issues, which has got to do with the Agyapa Royalties matters, and you know the KRL issues and things like that. So, but let's quickly start with Honorable Nisafzane again. Rawlings replies are at last.
Well, I have been reading the Working with Rawlings. I have not completed the book. I think I'm at chapter 6. But so far, what I have read doesn't speak ill of Rawlings. Indeed, in some parts of the book, to be honest with you, my fair, candid assessment is that Kwame Owusu appreciates the role, direction, leadership, and understanding of Rawlings in national politics and for unity. Indeed, I was thrilled when I read the part of the book that dealt with the attempts at returning Ghana to constitutional rule and the decisive and swift decisions taken by Rawlings to ensure that the elections of 1992 were conducted on multi-party partisan basis. I also read excerpts from the book where under the guidance of Rawlings, the committee, the G.A. Kufuor committee, started the process of ensuring that Ghana had true democracy. And I liked the term true democracy and their philosophical and ideological understanding of what true democracy is all about. Getting people really involved. I actually, yesterday, also understood the real intendment and purpose of the consultative assembly that was set up for the purposes of drafting the constitution. Yep. And I got the distinct understanding and feeling that that was in furtherance of the true participatory democracy philosophy that was being championed by the PNDC. Indeed, the rationale for a consultative assembly was to have a buy-in of all categories and classes of people to uphold and defend the constitution, and that is what we have today. This is the constitution that has produced a lot of precedents for this country, more than any other constitution in the history of this country. And this is the constitution that has endured more than any other constitution in this country. I have not finished reading the book. I have also been able to see one misinformation and disinformation that was paraded on the social media and on some media networks about the playing, Rawlings playing with a toy play any time that they were having meetings. I have not read the entire book, but I've come across a portion in the book where West African leaders, West African coup leaders, look to Rawlings for leadership and direction anytime they stage coups. And one such person who came to Rawlings and sought his assistance was was Strycer. You know, remember the Sierra Leonean 25-year-old Sierra Leonean who overthrew the person who staged a constitutional coup to remove is it Ahmed Jankaba or not Ahmed Jankaba, I've forgotten that president's name. Now, the Strycer had come to Ghana, had sought permission of Rawlings to help them to stabilize their country. They had gone there, and Strycer had visited India. He was given a replica of the Taj Mahal, and any time that they were engaging in him, he was actually playing with the replica of the Taj Mahal. I don't know whether that is what Ghanaians or propagandists have sought to twist to show that Rawlings was playing with his toy plane. There is nowhere. I've not read the entire book, but to where I have reached, I don't see any mention of Rawlings. And I see decisions that Rawlings made that clearly brought discussions to greater light and depth in his thinking. I actually, reading the book, have appreciated Rawlings a lot, and I've come to understand the workings of government. And I knew that my heart had to those who were part of the architectural network of people who came around to stabilize this country and provide the basis for the constitutionalism and democracy in this country. I have also read the part of the response of Rawlings, the office of the former president. This was sent to me by Kent courtesy of my brother Kosi Pratt. I have not finished reading it. I've read it's a 2-page or a 3-page report.
Okay.
Or reply. I'm still reading. 11 pages reply. I'm still on reading. I get the impression that the reply is seeking to correct facts which they said have been skewed, doctored, contorted, distorted, and colored. And they use the phrase "the suffers from some lack of truth" in Kwame Owusu's book. Now, I'm still reading. I'll complete the book today. I'll complete the statement of Rawlings today. But let me state, for the avoidance of doubt, that book, Working with Rawlings, is the historical account of the association of Kwame Owusu with Rawlings, dating back to the time that the 31st December revolution occurred. The book presents a personal recollection, sometimes with documented evidence of engagement with Rawlings. It is from the perspective of Kwame Owusu. It is not to say that it represents the collective view of all the people who worked with Chairman Rawlings and the PNDC in all its manifestations, because it changed several times. It doesn't represent. My view is that of a painter, and that a painter will paint a cup, or painters will paint a cup differently based on their position in relation to the cup and how they perceive the cup. Just like blind men describing an elephant will describe the elephant based on their touch. Each blind man's description of the elephant or each painter's representation of a cup does not represent the total picture of the cup, but represents the view of the painter or the blind man as regards his position to the object. In this case, the book represents Kwame Owusu's engagement with the Rawlings, and it is not in any way intended to be a sacred book of all the things that happened in the PNDC. And that is what I want us to understand as readers, that I will not be surprised. I will not be surprised if the people or different people also write their account of working with Rawlings and give different views and different perspectives of their engagement with Rawlings. I will not be surprised at all, because this was a government, a system of government that had many layers. This was a military government that put security at the highest. This was a government that was run on a need-to-know basis. Even though we had a PNDC secretariat and a committee of secretaries, people were kept in the known based on the relevance of the information to them. So, I see Kwame Owusu, yes, maybe the book suffers from that. He gives account of his involvement, and when you read the book, you will see that Kwame Owusu's involvement was really immense. And where I have gotten to, that can raise issues of envy and jealousy. Where I've gotten to, that can raise issues of envy and jealousy.
How so?
Because in all major decisions in the PN, and where a person puts himself in the center, like almost a fulcrum, second to Rawlings, not even to Captain Chachu Kojo Chikata, not even to Chachu Chikata, not even to put himself or better someone, even though he acknowledges them in the book. And the reference, if you read the part that talks about how Mills was finally settled on, and the central role played by Obed Asamoah, you can't fail to miss the point that Kwame Owusu admits that there were players who had more access to Rawlings, who had the buy-in of Rawlings more readily than others. But putting himself in the center clearly will raise, because all the major decisions, or all the major achievements, Afarajan is me, who is it? Mills, it's me, Afre is me, you to create the whole local governance architecture is me, the whole institutions of the constitution which were to be set up within a period of 6 months is me. I mean, so you see, so you will definitely raise envy and jealousy and anger of people, and that is bringing the reaction.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt.
Well, the response of Mr. Rawlings to Professor Owusu is exceedingly interesting, and it actually betrays the lies which have been told about this country. Now, if you go to page 7 of his response, and this is President Rawlings' own response, President Rawlings has never shied away from stating that he is not a supporter of the multi-party democracy because it tends to allow a minority to manipulate and rule the majority and brings about division. In spite of his strong reservations, he still accepted the integrity of the information from his team to adopt the multi-party system of democratic governance and actually stood as presidential candidate in both 1992 and 1996 general elections. This is a most important statement. This is from President Rawlings himself, that he doesn't like multi-party democracy. Now, if he doesn't like multi-party democracy, how do you credit him for the establishment of multi-party democratic rule? That is the lie which has persistently been told. That he brought about the Fourth Republic. It's a lie. And here, President Rawlings or his office is honest enough to admit that he was opposed to multi-party democracy. I was deeply involved in the agitation of multi-party, the restoration for multi-party democracy in this country. And I know what we suffered. Surveillance by the security services. There were times we couldn't sleep in our houses. Imprisonment. Some people suffered torture for advocating multi-party democracy under Mr. Rawlings. So how come that you credit him with what he fought against? You know, sometimes some of the political actors really, you know, they make me wonder. Now here you are, with Mr. Rawlings himself telling you that you were wrong, that he was against multi-party democracy. So all of you who are crediting him with the establishment of the Fourth Republic, forget it. This is his own statement. I'm not making it up. You understand? Now, when I read the statement, one of the things which also popped up was the consistent attempt to run down former President Mills. I was shocked. There are 4 clear allegations against former President Mills. One is that former President Mills failed to investigate the assassination of the Yana and 40 of his elders. Is this true? Under former President Mills, people were arrested. They were put before the courts. It is the courts which freed them. What were you expecting a lawyer who had become president to do? To go and fight the courts? President Mills was not the judge in the case. His executive power ended with the prosecution of those who were believed to have committed those atrocities and so on. So why blame him? Why create the impression that President Mills did nothing about the assassination of the Yana and 40 others? It's not true. It cannot be true. And everybody knows it. And then he says, President Mills' inability to look into the death of Alhaji Issa Mobila, the late Northern Regional Chairperson of the CPP. Is that true? This matter was vigorously investigated under President Mills. And you know.
Yeah, Danko was stand trial.
Exactly. Even somebody stood trial for the murder of Alhaji Issa Mobila. Yeah. So this can also not be true. And then we are told that the failure of the Mills government to investigate and prosecute genuine fraudulent activities within Kufuor's administration. Is that true? Why? I remember many of the people in the Kufuor government who were taken to court and tried. The courts decided to free them. Are you going to blame President Mills for that? The former foreign minister, for example, was in court. There were several others who were put on trial by the Mills administration. So it cannot be true. It cannot be true that President Mills refused to investigate and prosecute what he perceived to be corruption cases. You understand? There were several of them. I mean, I can't remember all of them, but you know that there were several of them who were in the courts and so on. So why is there this persistent effort at running down former President Mills, even when he's dead? I mean, I can't believe it, you know, and there are several other things. The first paragraph of the response is extremely interesting, and I'm going to read it. The office of former President Jerry John Rawlings has noted with concern contents of a book titled Working with Rawlings, authored by a former appointee of the PNDC and NDC, who now calls himself Professor Kwame Owusu.
Who now calls himself?
So now, there's even doubt about Professor Kwame Owusu. Is the doubt about his professorship or his name?
Yeah.
And this is below the belt. Clearly below the belt. This is doing exactly what they accused Professor Hoy of doing. You understand? I was not a member of the PNDC. I was not involved in PNDC activities. And I cannot tell whether indeed all the things that Professor Hoy has written are true or not. Indeed, I hope that everybody will live with their own conscience.
Yeah.
Those who served in the PNDC, those of us who opposed it and so on, let us all live with our conscience. Let's listen to what the little voice in our brain tells us when we go to bed and wake up from bed. That's the most important thing. Live with your conscience. Did you do what was right? Did you do what was in the interest of the people of Ghana? I mean, this is what should guide all of us, our conscience. Sometimes I wonder, sometimes I simply wonder about the general hypocrisy in the political establishment. I wonder. Look, I work very, very closely with Nana Akufo-Addo for about 5 years. We were meeting virtually every day. Sometimes we met 3 times a day to think about this country and to find ways of making this country better. Perhaps in this period, I could say that I was one of the most regular visitors to the home of Nana Akufo-Addo. And I know that we fought Mr. Rawlings together. And I know statements that we issued about Mr. Rawlings. Why? We organized a demonstration against the Rawlings administration, leading to the death of at least 4 people. They died because we encouraged them to oppose Mr. Rawlings. You understand? We consistently fought against the Rawlings administration. Can you imagine my shock? When I wake up one morning and His Excellency the President Nana Akufo-Addo says that Rawlings is his mentor and that he has always admired him and his values for probity and accountability and so on. So why did you join us in fighting him? Why did we fight the Rawlings administration when you so admired Mr. Rawlings? I can't believe some of these things. You know, some of these things just so shock me. You understand? And then you look at Mr. Rawlings and the relationship he's developing with Mr. Akufo-Addo, you know, and then you begin to wonder. Because I remember that Nana Akufo-Addo was the one who announced the decision that Mr. Rawlings should not be allowed to use the VIP.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. In fact, somebody should ask Victor Smith. Victor Smith called me and said Mr. Rawlings was traveling and that he was being disallowed the use of the VIP lounge. I rushed to the airport and I hope Mr. Rawlings remembers. I carried his bags. I carried his bags through
VIP.
No.
Okay.
The VIP had been closed. I carried his bags to check in. You know, just to show that the decision that had been announced by Mr. Akufo-Addo was not proper. That we can have our disagreements with him and so on, but as a former head of state, he deserved a certain level of respect and so on. I remember not too long ago, Mr. Rawlings would not even remember the name of Akufo-Addo. He used to call that man, what is his name? That short man. You remember? Yeah. Today, they are darling friends and so on. Maybe that is how the world is. Maybe that is how politics is played. I don't know. But for those who are seeking the truth, for those who want to know about the true state of affairs in this country and its history, this doesn't help us at all. It doesn't help us in any way. You understand? Look, I've lived a little longer than, you know, a lot of people. I know. 1982-83, the huge debate about the direction of the state of this country. And you should know better than me. Whether or not we should embark on the neoliberal path or we should embark on a revolutionary path of transformation. Yeah. In the final analysis, the neoliberalist won. So effectively from 1983, there was no revolution.
There was no revolution.
Because this country has embarked upon a neoliberal path of development. There was no revolution whatsoever. You understand? Now, if you go back to the figures, in the first year of implementing the economic recovery program, more than 300,000 jobs were lost in the public sector and civil service. The national currency was devalued massively. Subsidies on agriculture were withdrawn. Subsidies on social services were withdrawn, health and so on. You understand? This is the reality. I speak the truth, not because I hate Mr. Rawlings. I speak the truth not because I love Mr. Rawlings. I speak the truth because the truth is important. These are verifiable facts. And yet, for the convenience of some people, the political convenience of some people, they are turning our history completely upside down. Why? When I come and sit in studios like this, and I criticize Nana Akufo-Addo, do you think it's because I hate him? I don't hate Nana Addo. President Nana Akufo-Addo has been my friend. I still consider him a very good friend. We have worked together for many years. I know his strength and I know his weaknesses. But when I come and sit here, I have a duty to myself, to my children, to my grandchildren, to future generations, to speak the truth. To speak my mind, even if I am wrong. Even if I am wrong, to speak my mind. You understand? To speak my mind, no matter what the consequences may be. That's why we do what we do. It's not because we love John Mahama or hate John Mahama, love Akufo-Addo or hate Akufo-Addo. That is not what we do here. And until the political elite in this country learns to speak the truth, at least as they understand it, or as they know it, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. If the political elite in this country continues to behave in the most irresponsible way it is behaving. Now listen, my brother, listen to me very carefully. I have stated publicly that the launching of this book was ill-timed. Of course. Some people think that it was glorious. Glorious because it enables the country or provides conditions for the country to divert attention from the real issues which confront them, muddy the political space, so that in the final analysis, we may elect a government based on rumor and so on and all these useless speculations and so on. So to that extent, this book is very good for some people. Some people who don't want to discuss the real issues. This is a fantastic book. The launching is properly timed and so on. For those who want us to concentrate on kinky and fish issues, this is the wrong time to launch such a book. Yeah. It was ill-advised. Indeed, it was not particularly sensible to launch this book at this time. As for the so-called issues and facts in the book, who am I? Who am I to contest them? I cannot. However, there are some people who were in the system who have begun to contest portions of the book. They're entitled to that. Mr. Martin Amidu, for example, thinks that the book, portions of it, are not truthful. He's entitled to that. He was in the system. If Kwame Owusu is entitled to his views and to his set of facts, why is Martin Amidu not entitled to his set of views and his he's also entitled to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
You understand? There's Mr. Dan Agbodafi, who is contesting aspects of the book. He's entitled to that. Everybody is entitled to their views and their set of facts. But there ought to be an empirical basis for testing everything and coming to some reasonable conclusions about our past. You understand? Why? Can I be against Mr. Rawlings? I'm not against him. I'm against some of the things that he did when he was in power, which did not benefit this country. And I have a right to say that. But at the same time, I'm against any attempt to repress him or to violate his rights. And Mr. Rawlings will be the first person to testify to that. Because after 2000, he knows what I did to protect him, his life and so on. He knows what I did. Not because I agree with him, I still disagree with him on many issues. I do. I disagree with him on many issues. But the fact that I disagree with somebody doesn't mean that he should be killed. The fact that I disagree with somebody doesn't in any way justify his repression and so on. And that's clear. Look, 2000, the last rally that President Kufuor held, the very last rally, was held in Tamale, at Tamale Park. For some very strange reasons, I was the last speaker at that rally. And people of Tamale will remember. So when I got the microphone, I said, look, today I'm standing here and I'm asking you to vote for President Kufuor, to vote for Mr. Kufuor to become president. And that if Mr. Kufuor becomes president, and the very next day he starts doing what Mr. Rawlings and others are doing, we will fight him to the hilt. We will remove him from power. I'm sure many people will remember this in Tamale. And everybody was surprised. Campaign platform, last rally. And this is how I was talking. You understand? And I kept my word. And I will keep my word all the time. It's not about friendship. It's not about who we love or who we hate. That has no place in the politics of Ghana and in the politics of the world. You understand? It's about what principles guide us. It's about what we think is the truth and so on. That should be our guiding principle. This whole fight is absolutely needless.
Necessary.
I mean,
Necessary.
Kwame Owusu, is he not a professor? He is a professor. Why cast doubt about his professorship?
He's a professor.
Is his name not Kwame Owusu? Why cast doubts about his name? And so on. Why?
Just needless.
Needless.
And infantile. I mean.
Tell Mr. Professor Kwame Owusu that his facts are not correct.
Yes.
Agreed. No problem.
Absolutely.
Tell Professor Kwame Owusu that his interpretation of history is wrong.
Yep.
Tell Professor Kwame Owusu that you disagree with him. It's perfect. Why write a statement like this one? I mean, incredible. Why do you write a statement which says the office of the former president, John Rawlings, has noted with concern contents of a book titled Working with Rawlings, authored by a former appointee of the PNDC and NDC, who now calls himself Professor Kwame Owusu?
We call him that. It's not he calls himself. We call him that.
Why this?
Because I ordered the professorship and we call him that.
You know, so the level of pettiness in our politics
It's too bad.
is shocking.
It's too bad.
And you see, this pettiness sometimes comes from the very high echelons
It's too bad.
of our politics. And sometimes I just wonder, all of these people involved in creating this mess,
To what end?
why did we allow them to be our leaders? If this is all they can do, create mess. I'm tired. Sometimes, my brother, sometimes I really get tired. Sometimes I really get
You see,
tired.
but my brother Kosi Pratt, that is the inherent flaw in the democracy. That's the inherent flaw in the democracy. That people have a fundamental right to be wrong.
I like that.
People, that's the inherent flaw. So, today, the Americans are dealing with the fundamental right of choice. And in choosing, you can be wrong. Today, Ghanaians are dealing with choice. Because some have held that we were wrong. So that is inherent. It's inherent in the democratic process. It's inherent in majoritarian democracy. That a large number of fools can elect a leader because they are more than the wise. It's just simple. It's an inherent contradiction in the democracy.
Well, what can I say? Brilliant submission here on the show. Let me go for this quick commercial break. When I come back, we delve deeper and deeper into some of the issues that have been making the rounds on traditional media and social media. Stay and stay. Please don't move a muscle. It gets interesting after this.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hello?
Oh, Sisiana sound.
Okay, why? My wife comes and send a message you.
Thank you very, very kindly for still watching us this morning. The WhatsApp number, like I intimated before, is still active, 0260846539. We're also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Kindly share the Facebook feed so that others can get to watch as well. Let me quickly move on to Honorable Linus Afuseni again. Honorable, let's talk about the Agyapa matter, please.
But even before I start Agyapa, let me say that working with Rawlings is a good book for any student of governance and law. You will understand the workings of government. Any student of government or political science must grab a copy of the book. It's very important. You will get to understand. Now, Agyapa, my brother, Agyapa is a tale of comedy and fraudulent activities engaged in by the state to capture state resources for the private use of certain class of people. Agyapa deal is a classic case of kleptocracy. And this is perfected because we have kleptocrats who are in power. Kleptocrats are simply people who are hell-bent on converting public resources to private gain by the abuse of office. They are kleptocrats. And this government has demonstrated beyond doubt that it's a kleptocratic government. You can see it in PDS. You can see it in even the first Eurobond that was issued. The transaction advisor who was taken, how much was paid to the transaction advisor, and who are those connected to the transaction advisors. So you see, the payment was made under a contract, but it goes to benefit people who are associated with the government. That's kleptocrats. That's how kleptocrats behave. You can see it in PDS when we needed resources to inject in ECG to bring it up in its distribution network and also managerial expertise and technical capacity. You see the people they brought together for the purposes of taking the 51%. Who are they? You see them connected with government and you see them trying to take state resources for their own benefit. That's classic case of kleptocracy.
Okay.
Now, again, Agyapa Royalties is a classic case of kleptocracy. You see, first of all, there's always something in the name. The name didn't start with Agyapa Royalties. It started with Asase. Many reasons led to the change of name. Because the promoters of the company felt that Asase was too much attached to some personalities in Ghana. And that clearly did not portend well for a company that was intending to engage with government for the purposes of securing close to $1 billion riding on the back of our mineral royalties. So they changed the name to Agyapa Royalties. But it doesn't solve the problem. The fundamental difficulties of Agyapa Royalties are still there.
You mean Asase Royalties are still in Agyapa?
Yeah, the fundamental difficulties are still, of Asase Royalties are still in Agyapa.
Absolutely.
Now, about a year ago, the MPP came to Parliament with a bill entitled the Minerals Income and Investment Fund Bill. The express intention of the bill, as captured in the memorandum, was for the purposes of establishing a bill to manage mineral royalties accruing to the states. Mineral royalties accrue to the states through purchases of equity in investment in the mining sector in companies, or by sweat equity. Sweat equity is a term that developing countries coined by reason of the fact that the mineral is found in their country. So if you come to exploit the mineral already in that country, you will give, in our case, 10% equity in the business to the government of Ghana, because it is our bona fide property, it's our inheritance. And so it will be put in a fund. Now, they also said the bill also contemplated the establishment of an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, for the purposes of transacting on our mineral royalties. So they could engage a special purpose vehicle to do or enter into a contract or business relationship with a third party for the benefit of the country and on behalf of the mineral income and investment fund. Now, the fund has a CEO. The SPV contemplated under the Act did not make it commercially responsive, or if you want, commercially independent, and that the SPV could not run on good corporate governance principles. So they needed to have it. Unknown to them, information had already filtered, my brother, that Asase Royalties had been incorporated in New Jersey. And its avowed intention was to securitize our royalties for the purposes of securing $1 billion for the government of Ghana. This is captured in the debates in Parliament. Now, so we delayed it for some time because they introduced the amendment under a certificate of urgency, so but it was delayed. Upon further consultations, we passed the amendment. My brother, the amendment had not yet been assented to by the president. When the president or the government of this country entered into a relationship with another company for the purposes of securing for this country $500 million. They had also changed the name of Asase Royalties to Agyapa Royalties. Now, I remember clearly when the matter came before Parliament, I raised a constitutional issue. Under Article 106 clause 7 of the Constitution, Parliament had passed the amendment. The amendment had left Parliament. So we had passed the amendment. But the amendment had not yet been assented to by the president. You could not be taking action on an amendment that had been passed by Parliament but not yet assented to by the president. And Parliament could not pretend not to know that they had passed amendment. An outsider could be working with the old law Okay, but Parliament it was that took decision, moved the motions, and amended the law. Now, I thought that was the crux of unconstitutionality and illegality, because we were proceeding to act on the basis of speculation that the president will assent the law and that Agyapa royalties will be properly consummated for the, ex facto, that after they had entered the agreement.
Yeah.
It is not part of the law. You can't do that in Ghana. I told them in Parliament that we can't do that. It was illegal, unlawful, and unconstitutional. There was no law. Even the report indicated that the law had been amended, but had not yet come into force because the president had not assented. So why will you take a decision and an action on the law that has not yet come into force? But impunity of the MPP is legendary. When we walked out, they passed a resolution. And the resolution was that the Agyapa Royalties deal is ratified subject to assent of the amended bill. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Whether Parliament can have speculative jurisdiction, but that is the legal aspect. And I say that, and Honorable Dominic Ayine made a brilliant submission quoting Lord Denny,
yeah.
in the
Mabry versus Medicine.
No, Mabiki. There's a case in which Lord Dennis said that you cannot. It's a legal classical. You can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. To fall.
Yeah.
And that when there's an illegality, you don't even need a court action.
Yeah.
It's an illegality ab initio, and the matter is null and void. Ab initio, you don't need a court process. Because there was no law. You were taken to enter into an agreement based on a law that was non-existent. So it's an illegality. In fact, we have said this, that any person who enters into an agreement and advances Ghana any money based on what happened in Parliament on that day is risking his investment. Because there was no law. But the people who are interested in economics also say that there were other things which were fundamentally wrong. Who are the directors of Agyapa? We don't know them. It's a quasi-public body. Agyapa, the SPB under the old law was conceived to be a public body. Government of Ghana was going to have 100% shares. Now government has 51 shares. The farm managers have 49 shares. The directors, the agreement recites that the directors cannot be removed, even if incompetent. Is it the case of thinking beyond
special prosecutor?
No, thinking beyond the
2020.
That look, because we are going to do this, it's a classic case of kleptocracy. Because we are doing this, even if we lose elections, those who are going to be directors of the SPV will be permanent, cannot be removed, no matter their political affiliation. Are they thinking beyond 2020 and already insulating themselves against removal? Then the question is, Agyapa, royalties in Ghana 120 to 200, you need 500. That could be 2 years. What are you going to do in 3 months with 500 million, which you cannot wait to do in 2 years? In any case, the regular stream flow of cash every year between 120 and 200 million allows you to budget and plan. So what are you going to do now that you need 200 million? 500 million, that you can't wait to do it after elections. And so those who are doing economics also reside at that point. The last point is the people reside, or one of the points people reside is simply that, look, what MPP is doing, what this government is doing, and which it is doing with impunity, is that it does not really have the interest of the people at heart. And because it does not have the interest of the people at heart, it can decide to be very reckless in its dealing with state property and state resources. And that is what is manifested in Agyapa. And I'm not surprised by what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has said, that if the people of Ghana give him the nod, he will investigate Agyapa. Indeed, if the people of Ghana give John Dramani Muhammad and he forgets, we'll remind him. We'll remind him to investigate. Because you see, Agyapa has no basis in law. And I'm setting it on Pan-African TV today. Whoever wants to challenge me, Agyapa has no basis in law. The law had been amended. It has not yet been assented to. You could not be entering into an agreement based on a legislation that has been passed by Parliament but not yet assented to. That is not what I was told in the I was taught in the constitutional law class. And this government must watch out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. Please.
You know, I'm not going to make a very long comment on this matter. Every time people come to us to elect them into government, what they claim is that they have the capacity to do things. To rescue the economy, to plan well, to do so many things, simply to make our lives better. As soon as we elect them, they start contracting the job for which we voted for them to private companies, usually close to them. So where is that capacity? What is it that Agyapa can do which the Ministry of Finance cannot do? What is it that Agyapa can do which the whole government machinery of Ghana is unable to do? That's all. You understand? We have the men, we have the men, we have the men. Where are the men? Why? Do we have the men simply to come and take money from government? Or we have the men to use the government machinery to generate wealth to resolve the concrete problems which face our people? I don't know if we're going to discuss the other matter about the American PR firm and so on. If we are, I'll stop here.
Okay.
because it presents another very interesting dimension of the same case.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Pat, let me start with you on that one, please. US PR firm on work during the Akufo-Addo campaign and now.
Master, again,
yes, sir.
I'm not going to talk much. The same thing. We have the men, we have the men. Now we are being told that even the campaign could not be organized by Ghanaians and members of the New Patriotic Party. They had to go and look for Americans to come and run the campaign for them. And these Americans have just issued a statement saying that, quite apart from the fact that they organized aspects of the campaign to bring them to power, even when they won the power, they were still in charge and therefore deserve to be paid. That they did so many things about one district, one factory and so on. So even the implementation of policy is being done by Americans. So where are the men? We have the men, we have the men. Where are the men? These Americans, are they more qualified than all the distinguished people we have in this country? You want lawyers of repute and ability? Lawyers of repute and ability, you have to go to America. You want journalists of repute and ability, you have to go to America. You want communicators, you go to America. Those communicators, are they better than Odriga Jekpo? Are they better than Professor Kwame Kakari? Are they better than Bona Kumsin? Are they better than Kabra Bliami here? What is this fixation with foreigners and Americans? What is this fixation? Why can't we pay? I'm sure that if we paid Professor Kwame Kakari and others to form a consortium and paid them 2% of what they were paying to the Americans, they would have done a better job. I'm sure that even if we persuaded them and they knew that it was in the national interest, they would not even take any money at all. What is wrong with our leaders? And the justification is that even after the MPP had won power, these Americans were still working for them. Working for them doing what? That Ghanaians cannot do. This is a shame. In any case, the jobs which were given to them after elections, they didn't go through tender. Master, the jobs which was given to this PR firm after elections, they didn't go through tender. What kind of tender? You see, it making me sick every day. I feel really sick. What is this? I was talking about linking the two, and the principles are the same. You know, last night, somebody sent me a very brilliant analysis on this Agyapa Royalties, which had been done by Mr. Fui Chikata, not Chatu Chikata, Mr. Fui Chikata, who has about 40 years experience in dealing with this country's minerals and international transactions and so on. And then another person who joined him in doing the analysis was actually the CEO of the Minerals Commission for some time. And their verdict is that this whole Agyapa thing is a rip-off. And that this country is going to lose massively. In fact, I'm going to publish this, the analysis of Mr. Fui Chikata and this other gentleman whose name I've forgotten. You understand? But what is all this? What is all this? These foreigners we bring in to come and run elections for us and so. I thought that the election was a very simple matter. This is the state of Ghana. This is what we can do to improve the state of Ghana. Huh? My opponent's program is not correct and so on. And then we argue and the people of Ghana make a decision. Now we are hiring foreign firms, usually American firms, to come and run the campaigns for us. What is the interest of the Ghanaian people? And indeed, if you look at the agreement signed by I Am for Nana Foundation with this USPR group, part of the agreement says that they were being hired to run a dirty campaign. What does a dirty campaign mean? Dirty campaign. What does it mean?
Well,
what goes around will come around. We're in this country. When the MPP in opposition had gone to Prudential Bank and loaned $1 million and could not pay, they wanted to foreclose their offices until the present finance minister came to their rescue by entering into a restructuring arrangement with Prudential Bank. They have since paid. They have since paid the money. But, Mr. President, you don't know this government. That's how they make their margins. So. The first foreigners they brought into this country were people from South Africa. Tax experts from South Africa. Mackenzie. They were the first. They wrote the first budget for them. They prepared their first budget. Mackenzie. They didn't tell us how much they paid them. And you haven't forgotten Kroll and Associates. I haven't forgotten that. Are they no foreigners?
Even WLO's firm.
Not WLO's. No, that's not WLO's firm.
Okay.
WLO was only questioning the arrangement where the whole transaction emanated from the office of the senior minister.
Okay.
But the expenditure was charged to the account of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That was incongruous because the office of the the office of the senior minister is part of the government machinery. Its budget and expenses are charged on money budgeted for government machinery. Okay, the office of the Minister of Finance are charged onto the budget provided for the Minister of Finance. So the WLO felt that it was incongruous. You cannot, an agreement cannot be signed by a minister who works as part of the government machinery and the expenses charged to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. What made it worse for them? That was enough query. That was enough query. But what made it worse was that there were not enough supporting documents to justify the expenditure. And there is a checklist for payment. You must see this, you must see that, you must see that before you pay. And it was not there. And that was the beginning of the woes of WLO. I was told on a TV station that President Mama appointed WLO when he had lost election, knowing that WLO would come and give them trouble. Now, this K KRL, a foreign company, was contracted to run campaign. Was contracted by Ayamfo Nana. Ken Oforiata, our present finance minister, was, and I believe is still, a director of Ayamfo Nana. And he is also the finance minister.
Absolutely.
Ayamfo Nana ran a campaign for MPP when they were in opposition. They were not paid. They were not paid. Now, when they won power, they gave them contracts under the Ministry of Finance.
You mean KRL?
Yes. Do you see the smartness of the transaction? To run campaigns or whatever on the 1D, 1F.
I think the first one was keep 3 points or something like that.
Well, kept 3 points, but
yeah, that was about $7,500. Transmogrified to $100,000.
Well,
and then went on and on.
Well, so okay, kept 3 points, fine. But they are running campaign on 1D, 1F.
As we speak.
Oh, they are running campaign on planting for food and jobs. As we speak. They are running campaign for one village, one what?
Dam.
As we speak. The only wonder that the dams are not constructed well because part of the money goes to pay consultancy. Part of the money. And so that's how they are paid. So they found a very clever way of paying their past debts by giving them contracts. That is why KRL is being accused of receiving monies, which is tainted money, tainted by bribery and corruption, because they worked for a private organization called MPP at the time that MPP was in government, was in opposition. And when MPP won power, they were transformed into the ruling, into a government of Ghana. And the contract of KRL extended into government. And clearly, by the FATF rules, Financial Action Task Force, that any payment to KRL will raise a red flag. Because they are now working for government. So how are they being paid? What are they doing? Is it a conduit for siphoning of public resources? Is it part of money laundering? Are they using them for the purposes of money laundering?
I think the question was also about why they are being paid by the government, the Ministry of Finance, when they did a job.
That is it. So are you looking at money? Money laundering is not just for drug trafficking or it's a funnel for taking away resources, illegal resources, ill-gotten resources. Is that what they are doing? That is why the American government is being invited to look into the operations of KRL in Ghana. Are they being a funnel by this government to siphon resources, public resources? Are they a willing tool in the corrupt enterprise of the MPP? Are they a conduit for the illegal wealth of MPP? Are they being used to clean monies that is gotten by the MPP? And this ties in with Agyapa Royalties. Who are the fund managers? Is it a conduit to buy shares in that Agyapa Royalties?
The legal advisors.
What is that? So that they can have resources moved out through legal means into so that they can clean the resources. That's what they are doing. So that is why this matter should attract attention. And I understand that the president has referred the matter to Shiraj for investigation.
Okay. When?
I don't know. But these people are inviting ASEPA is inviting them to invited the president to refer the matter or invoked the jurisdiction of Siraj to look into the matter.
Yeah, I think I listened to them. I think 5 of the CSOs
Yes.
Wrote a letter to the president to investigate.
This morning I heard something like the president referring the matter to the but I'm yet to confirm the information. I just heard it in the flash.
Okay.
But whatever be the case, this matter should not be investigated only by Ghana.
Okay.
I think all the international financial institutions, the American government, which the Patriot Act is already in America, which frowns upon bribery.
Okay.
The serious fraud office in the United Kingdom is also very important in this matter. We should is KRL a conduit for siphoning off state resources, cleaning them, and funneling them back into the system?
That's one point which is interesting. I was reading a statement purportedly issued by this PR firm this morning, and the statement is carried on the front page of the Dispatch newspaper. And the statement actually says that Open Source is not a credible organization.
I think so.
And that it was set up to do a dirty campaign on NPP and its flag bearer. This is completely false.
Yeah.
Open Source is one of the most credible investigative institutions in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Indeed, Open Source used to work with Julian Assange. Has no focus on Ghana. Its focus is global. You understand? So this claim by the PR firm itself is problematic. Open Source is a well-known organization. Google it and go.
Master, they forget that the world has become a global village.
Right.
So you can easily access information at the tip of your fingers.
Okay. Well, thank you, Honorable Nisabsini. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Well, 3 of my very good friends are watching us this morning. Samuel Oku is watching. Samuel, good morning to you. I trust you're doing very well. Also, Alhaji Baba Seidu Esifu, you are watching us this morning. Good morning to you.
How do you know they are watching?
They send me messages.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I know they're watching.
It's good that Sami and Ko are watching this show.
Yeah.
And, Sami, salute.
And the CEO of Denmark Investment, you're also watching, and you say I should tell my viewers that you still have lands available. Okay, I'll tell them. You said you have some at OEB, Sasebi, Amrehia, Pantine, and you have farmlands in Nsawam as well. So I'll get them to call you 0241 720 734. Okay, so call my friend. He's a very good friend of mine, Denmark Investment, and also the general manager for Ridge Royal Hotel. You're also doing the watching this morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Sam. And thank you very, very much for all that you've been doing for Pan-African Television. We're definitely going to come for the retreat very soon. The whole family at Pan-African Television will be coming to Ridge Royal Hotel very soon. Thank you, Honorable Nisabsini, for your time this morning. Thank you, Mr. Pratt, for giving us such an emotional statement, submission this morning. I felt it. I really felt it. And I trust that. Important. Yeah, I felt it. I really felt it.
When we fight people, we should fight on principle.
For a cause,
we should fight because we disagree, not personally.
Absolutely.
We should not attack each other.
Absolutely. And I felt it.
The dignity of a person is invaluable. You can't think that Kwame Owusu is not a prophet. You are attacking his dignity. His reputation. It's bad.
Thank you very much. On that note, thank you very kindly. Today our Facebook views went up, and I'm super excited about it. Thank you guys for watching today on Facebook. Thank you for watching via your traditional platform. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice day. God bless you. God bless me. God bless our homeland Ghana, and make us great and strong. Salute.
They call you DJ Jamilala, drop the song, make we dance. DJ Jamilala, drop the song, make we dance. Where the party there today? Hey mama, hey I ever say. Shake your body, man, ya corner. Cause hey mama, hey I ever say. So where the party there today? Hey mama, hey I ever say. Shake your body, man, ya corner. Hey mama, hey I ever say. for no reason. Don't you know, say this be our season? Did the pray make a fall, kite? You dreaming? Nanka better now, yeah. Yeah, you make sad for no reason.